Have you guys ever heard of the stranger study? I'm not sure if you have. It's a psychological study, and I think most of the time people don't ever hear of psychology studies unless you're studying psychology. And so this one is really driven by Mary Ainsworth in the 70s. And she was considered a student of John Bowlby only because they worked in the same clinic, and she decided to join his research team. And really, what Mary Ainsworth did was she backed up through empirical research, which really means she just validated what John was already saying occurred in natural life after a war, right? With the orphanages and with the hospitalization of not letting your parents in the room overnight. So she's just backing up John's theory is all she's doing in a lab, which may seem like, why do you have to do that? But really, we want that. We want those empirical research studies. We want to be able to prove that these theories actually work so that we can then continue to build upon them. Because like any good hypothesis, if it doesn't work, we're going to have to come back to the drawing board and see what didn't work and kind of change our thoughts on it, change the hypothesis. And then if it does work, then we get to build upon that and really run with it. And so that's what Mary Ainsworth did. She kind of ran with this attachment theory that John had. And so in the lab, you've got two chairs, a mother's chair, a stranger chair, and toys on the floor. And the mother is in there with the baby, playing with the baby, really a toddler. And a stranger comes in, sits down, tries to interact with the child. Then the mother leaves, the child reacts, right? And then the mother comes back and comforts the child. And again, we're looking for the reunion. So how is the mother able to bring the emotional distress of the child down? And so that's like the first reunion. And then they're going to have the stranger leave. Then they're going to have the mother leave. And of course, the baby will react. The stranger will come back in and try to comfort the baby. And we're making, like, we're looking to see, can the stranger comfort a baby or toddler? Because the mother should be the one who does that, right? Or the father, but this experiment worked with the mothers. And then the mother comes back and she comforts the baby. And again, we're looking to see, can the mother bring the emotional distress down of the child? And so Mary was able to prove attachment theory, and she came up with 4 attachment styles in the lab, which then we're able to take out into the real world. So, John observed something in the real world, like any good scientific study. We have a hypothesis of what we observe and what we see, and you can interview people, and then that's a great theory, and we're proving it in real life, but can we replicate it? And Mary Ainsworth was able to replicate it in the lab. And then from there, we get to build on this study, which is really great because that's what we like. It's what we like to do, right? That's how we learn, is through the scientific processes, even in psychology. And so Mary really she bridged theory and practice together, and she provided measurable ways to study and categorize attachment styles. And what's really great about research studies is you can go out and do a research study, based on whatever theory you have or hypothesis you have, and then you'll get your results. But years later, or months later, or decades later, somebody could come back in and they can restudy it, and maybe they can see something a little bit different that builds on it a little bit in a different light, in a different way. Or maybe they come up with a different theory based on that, and then they get to replicate that. And I think that's what's pretty amazing about psychology or the science world, is that we're always coming up with new ideas, testing them out, either in real life or in the lab, and then we're using those to help people. And that's the bottom line, right? We just want to help people. We want them to get better. We want to understand why they're reacting the way they're reacting, they're interacting the way they're interacting. And attachment style is one of those ways to understand relationship styles, relationship motives, relationship interactions. Again, they all go back to your childhood, which is an interesting aspect because, we all focus on, we should be focused on the present. And headed towards the future. But if something's wrong in the present, you're not going to be able to focus on your future very well. And if something's wrong with the present, you might need to go back a little bit and start focusing and understanding why, so that we can make a better present, so then we can make a better future for ourselves. And that's really like a loop closing in on itself. And it's very fascinating if you love to study that stuff, which I do. Just sit back and observe people and the way they interact, and then kind of find out why. So my question to you guys is, what do you think about the 4 different attachment styles? Now, I know I haven't said anything about them, but I'm sure a lot of people understand them. We have Google now. A lot of people are Googling their symptoms for mental health and trying to figure it out themselves. And then we have the stranger study that I described. And how would you feel really if you were to be the mother in that situation, to sign up for the study knowing you had to walk out on your kid when they cry? Because I know I hated to leave my kids when I had to go to work, or, when you're in church and they go to the nursery, that always caused me stress because it caused them stress. So what are your thoughts there as well?